Charlotte Harrington had everything money could buy: luxury condos, designer clothes, and a family name that opened every door in Seattle's elite circles. But what she didn't have was love. Until a simple TV repair call changed everything forever. When Marcus Reed walked into her pristine world with his toolbox and gentle smile, neither of them knew they were about to ignite a scandal that would tear through high society like wildfire. One innocent photograph would expose their secret connection, turning a beautiful love story into front-page gossip that threatened to destroy not just their budding romance, but the safety and peace of an innocent 8-year-old girl. As family pressure mounted and cruel headlines painted their love as nothing more than a rich woman's experiment, Charlotte faced an impossible choice: surrender to a life of hollow privilege, or risk everything for a man whose dignity and daughter's happiness meant more to him than all her family's wealth. What she decided would either prove that true love conquers all, or that some bridges between different worlds can never truly be crossed. If you're watching this story unfold, hit subscribe and tell me where you're watching from. Because this tale of love, sacrifice, and standing up to society's judgment is just getting started. The Friday afternoon sun streamed through Charlotte Harrington's floor-to-ceiling windows, casting long shadows across her pristine living room. She pressed the power button on her remote for the third time, watching her expensive television flicker and freeze on the same frame. The streaming service logo mocked her from the screen. "Come on," she muttered, tapping the remote against her palm. Lottie, as her friends called her, had planned to spend her evening curled up with a classic movie and takeout from her favorite Thai place. After a week of board meetings and hotel inspections, she craved the simple pleasure of disappearing into someone else's story. She pulled out her phone and scrolled through her contacts until she found the number for TechFix Solutions. The woman who answered had a warm voice and promised to send someone within the hour. "Same-day service on Friday evening?" Lottie asked, surprised. "We've got a guy in your area, Marcus Reed. He's our best." An hour later, her doorbell rang. Lottie padded to the door in her bare feet, still wearing the jeans and soft sweater she'd changed into after work. Through the peephole, she saw a tall black man in his early 30s, holding a toolbox and wearing a navy polo with the TechFix logo. She opened the door. "Charlotte Harrington, you must be Marcus." "Yes, ma'am, Marcus Reed." His smile was genuine, reaching his dark eyes. "I hear you're having some TV trouble?" His voice was warm and calm. Something about his presence immediately put her at ease. He wasn't rushing to get inside or checking his watch. He simply waited for her to invite him in. "Please, come in." She stepped back. "And it's just Lottie." Marcus wiped his feet carefully on the mat before stepping inside. His eyes swept the room professionally, taking in the entertainment center without seeming to judge the expensive furniture or the view of the city skyline beyond. "Nice space," he said simply. "Where's the problem, child?" Lottie smiled at his easy manner. "Over here. It keeps freezing, and the sound cuts out randomly." Marcus set down his toolbox and pulled out his phone. "Mind if I take my shoes off? I'll be moving around back there." "Of course." Most service people just charged in, eager to finish and move on to the next call. Marcus's small courtesy felt refreshing. He knelt behind the entertainment center, his movements careful and methodical. Lottie watched him work, noting how he organized his tools and spoke to her over his shoulder as he examined the connections. "How long have you been having problems?" "About a week. It started small. Just a pause here and there. Now it's getting worse. These newer smart TVs can be tricky. Sometimes it's the simplest thing." His voice was muffled as he worked behind the console. "Would you mind testing something for me? Try turning it on again." Lottie picked up the remote. The TV flickered to life, but immediately froze on a paused text conversation. Her ex-boyfriend's name glared from the screen in an unfinished message thread she'd forgotten about. Her cheeks burned. The conversation showed her typing and deleting responses to his latest attempt to grab coffee and talk. She'd been avoiding the decision for days. Marcus glanced at the screen briefly, then immediately looked away. Without comment, he reached for the input button on the side of the TV and switched to a neutral input screen. "Let me check these cables first," he said quietly, giving her privacy to grab the remote and clear the personal display. Such a small gesture, but it meant everything. He could have pretended not to see, or worse, commented. Instead, he'd simply and quietly protected her dignity. "Thank you," she said softly. "For what?" "You know what?" Their eyes met for a moment. His expression was kind, but not pitying. Just respectful. "Found your problem?" he said, holding up a small adapter that looked innocent enough. "This little guy is cheap and gets loose. When it shifts, your whole signal gets interrupted." Marcus replaced the adapter with one from his toolkit. "This one's built better. Should last you a few years at least." He worked for another 20 minutes, testing connections, adjusting the soundbar settings, and calibrating the picture. His movements were efficient, but never rushed. He explained what he was doing without talking down to her, and he cleaned up after himself as he worked. "I'm going to write down the button sequence for your soundbar," he said, finding a notepad on her kitchen counter. "Sometimes people hit the wrong input by accident." While he wrote, his phone rang. The caller ID showed Zoe with a photo of a little girl with pigtails and a gap-toothed grin. "Hey, baby girl," Marcus answered, his whole voice changing. Softer, more musical. "What's up?" "Daddy, I can't find my colored pencils for my art project. Mrs. Johnson said we need them for Monday." "Did you check the desk drawer? The one with the butterfly stickers?" "Oh, I forgot about that one. Hold on." Lottie found herself smiling as she listened to him talk to his daughter. There was such tenderness in his voice, such patience. "Found them," came the little voice through the phone. "Good job, sweetheart. I'll be home in about 30 minutes, and we can work on your project together. What are you drawing?" "A family of birds. The mama bird is teaching the baby birds how to fly." "That sounds beautiful. I can't wait to see it." "I love you, Daddy." "I love you too, Zoe. See you soon." When Marcus hung up, Lottie was struck by the complete shift in his demeanor. At work, he was professional and capable. With his daughter, he was purely loving. It made her wonder what other sides of himself he carried. "Sorry about that," he said. "Don't apologize. She sounds sweet." "She's 8 going on 30. Keeps me on my toes." Marcus finished writing and tore off the page. "These are the steps for your soundbar. If you lose this, just call the number on the back. We'll talk you through it." He packed up his tools systematically, checking behind the entertainment center once more to make sure everything was neat and in place. When he stood, Lottie was surprised to find herself reluctant to see him go. "Let me test everything one more time," Marcus said, reaching for the remote. The TV responded perfectly. He flipped through inputs, adjusted the volume, and demonstrated the soundbar controls. Everything worked smoothly. "Perfect," Lottie said. "What do I owe you?" "The service fee was paid when you called. The adapter upgrade is $15, but honestly, your original one might have lasted another month or two. Up to you." Another small kindness. He could have easily charged her for the upgrade without mentioning the choice. "Definitely upgrade it. Thank you." Marcus wrote up the simple receipt. His handwriting was neat and careful, like everything else about his work. At the door, Lottie found herself searching for something to say. "Thank you again. For everything. You really saved my evening." Just doing my job. He slung his toolbox over his shoulder. Enjoy your movie night. As he turned to go, Lottie reached out and briefly squeezed his shoulder. Have fun with Zoe's art project. The gesture was impulsive and probably unprofessional, but Marcus just smiled. I will. Down the hall, Mrs. Chen from apartment 4B was walking her small dog. She slowed as Marcus passed, her curious eyes moving from him to Lottie standing in her doorway. The older woman's gaze lingered for a moment before she pulled out her phone. Lottie closed the door and leaned against it, feeling oddly unsettled. Not by Marcus, quite the opposite. For the first time in months, she'd met someone who seemed genuinely real. No agenda, no pretense, no interest in her last name or her condo or what she could offer him. Just honest work and quiet kindness. She walked back to her living room and picked up the notepad he'd left by the remote. His handwriting was clear and simple. Soundbar, input 1, volume up twice, wait 3 seconds, then adjust with TV remote. Marcus R. Such a small thing, but thoughtful. How many service calls ended with someone taking time to write helpful notes? Lottie settled onto her couch and pulled up her streaming queue. As the opening credits of a classic romantic comedy began to play, she found herself thinking not about the movie, but about the gentle way Marcus had spoken to his daughter and the care he'd taken with her embarrassing text thread. Her phone buzzed with a text from her friend Jenna. Movie night still on? I can come over with wine. Lottie looked around her quiet condo, then typed back. Rain check? I'm actually looking forward to a quiet night in. For once, that was completely true. She'd grown tired of the endless social obligations that came with being a Harrington. Tonight, she just wanted to enjoy the simple pleasure of a working television and the lingering sense that good people still existed in the world. As her movie played, Lottie realized she was smiling. Such a small interaction, but it had brightened her entire evening. She made a mental note to leave a positive review for TechFix Solutions. Marcus Reed deserved recognition for his professionalism and kindness. She didn't notice the photo that Mrs. Chen had already uploaded to her neighborhood Facebook group, showing a handsome black man leaving the Harrington heiress's apartment with the caption, Interesting Friday night visitor for our mysterious neighbor in 12A. Within an hour, the photo had been shared to a small society blog that tracked the movements of Seattle's young elite. By morning, it would have a headline that would change everything. Hotel Heiress's mystery guest. Charlotte Harrington spotted with unidentified male visitor. But for now, Lottie simply enjoyed her movie, unaware that her evening was about to become much more complicated than she'd ever imagined. The credits rolled as she finished the last of her Thai food. She realized she felt more relaxed than she had in weeks. Sometimes the best nights were the quietest ones, and sometimes the most meaningful encounters were the most unexpected. She glanced at Marcus's note one more time before placing it carefully in her junk drawer. Something told her she might need it again. Saturday morning sunlight filtered through Lottie's bedroom curtains as her phone buzzed insistently on the nightstand. She reached for it sleepily, squinting at a text from her best friend Jenna. Girl, you need to see this. Check SeattleScene.com ASAP. Lottie's stomach dropped. Seattle Scene was a gossipy blog that followed the city's social elite with the dedication of a bloodhound. She rarely appeared in their posts, preferring to keep a low profile, but when she did, it was never good news. She opened her laptop and navigated to the site. There it was, third post down. Hotel Heiress's mystery guest. The photo showed Marcus leaving her apartment building, toolbox in hand, with her clearly visible in the background standing in her doorway. The caption read, Charlotte Harrington, heiress to the boutique Harrington Hotel Group, welcomed a mystery visitor to her luxury downtown condo Friday evening. Sources confirm the handsome stranger stayed for over an hour, Could Seattle's most eligible hotel princess have found love outside her usual social circle? We'll be watching. Lottie's chest tightened. They'd made it sound like some romantic rendezvous instead of a simple service call. The photo itself was innocent enough, but the blog's breathless speculation twisted everything. Her phone rang. Jenna's name appeared on the screen. "Please tell me this isn't as bad as it looks," Jenna said without preamble. "It's exactly what it looks like, a repair guy fixing my TV, but they've made it sound like—" Lottie trailed off, reading the comments below the post. "Like you're dating him?" "Exactly." Lottie scrolled through responses from usernames she didn't recognize, all speculating about her love life with varying degrees of invasiveness. "God, I hate this stuff. Honey, you know this will blow over in a day or two. Some other socialite will get caught leaving a nightclub, and they'll forget all about your mystery man." But Lottie wasn't listening. She was thinking about Marcus, wondering if he'd see this, wondering what he'd think. Would he assume she'd somehow orchestrated the attention? Would he think she was the kind of person who courted this kind of publicity? "I have to go," she told Jenna. "I need to think." After hanging up, Lottie stared at the photo for a long time. Marcus looked professional and dignified. His posture relaxed as he walked toward the elevator. There was nothing shameful about the image, but the blog's implications made her feel exposed and foolish. She closed the laptop and tried to focus on her weekend plans, but the blog post nagged at her. Finally, she gave in to an impulse and pulled up Marcus's business card, which she'd saved in her phone. She started typing several messages and deleted them all. How did you text someone to explain that you weren't seeking attention? How did you apologize for something that wasn't really your fault? Finally, she settled on something simple. "Hi Marcus, this is Lottie from yesterday's TV repair. I wanted to thank you again for the excellent service. Your instructions worked perfectly. I have some extra tickets to a community puppet show this afternoon if you and Zoe might enjoy it. No pressure at all." She hesitated before hitting send. Was she overstepping? Was this weird? But something about the way Marcus had talked to his daughter made her think they might enjoy an afternoon out, and selfishly, she wanted to see them again. Her phone buzzed back surprisingly quickly. "Hi Lottie, glad the TV is working well. Zoe would love a puppet show. Are you sure about the extra tickets?" Relief flooded through her. He didn't sound suspicious or put off, just genuinely pleased. "Completely sure. The show is at the community center on Pine Street at 2 p.m. Maybe we could all sit together? Zoe won't feel like she's accepting charity from a stranger if I'm there too." "That's thoughtful. See you at 2? Lottie set down her phone, surprised by her own nervousness. When was the last time she'd been excited about something as simple as a puppet show? She spent an embarrassing amount of time choosing her outfit, finally settling on dark jeans, ballet flats, and a soft cardigan. Nothing too fancy, nothing that screamed Hotel Heiress, just normal. The Pine Street Community Center buzzed with the energy of families gathering for the Saturday afternoon show. Lottie spotted Marcus and Zoe near the entrance, and her heart did a small skip. Marcus wore khakis and a button-down shirt, and Zoe looked adorable in a yellow sundress with her hair in neat braids. "Lottie!" Zoe waved enthusiastically as if they were old friends. "Hi there, beautiful girl." Lottie knelt to Zoe's level. "Are you excited about the puppets?" "Daddy says they tell stories with their hands. Is that really true?" "It's magic," Lottie said seriously. "They make you believe the puppets are real people." Marcus watched this exchange with a soft expression. "Thanks again for thinking of us." "Thanks for coming. I wasn't sure if puppet shows were your thing." "Are you kidding? I'm probably more excited than she is." They found seats in the middle section, 3 seats together in a row that felt comfortably intimate without being too forward. As the lights dimmed, Zoe pulled out a small sketch pad and crayons. "I like to draw the characters," she whispered to Lottie. "Daddy says it helps me remember the stories." The show was charming, a classic fairy tale about a princess who saved her kingdom through kindness rather than magic. Lottie found herself glancing sideways at Marcus, enjoying his genuine reactions to the performance. He laughed at the right moments and leaned forward during the suspenseful parts, completely unself-conscious. Zoe drew throughout the show, her little tongue poking out in concentration. During intermission, she showed Lottie her sketches. "This one is the princess," Zoe said, pointing to a figure in a flowing dress. "And this one is the mean dragon, but he's not really mean, he's just scared." "You're a wonderful artist," Lottie said, and meant it. The drawings showed real observation and creativity. "May I see more?" Zoe flipped through her sketchpad, showing drawings from school, from home, from their neighborhood. One page showed a family of 3 stick figures labeled Me, Daddy, and Mama, with the mother figure crossed out in red crayon. "That's from when Mama was still here," Zoe said matter-of-factly. "But she went to heaven when I was little. Now it's just me and Daddy, and that's good too." Lottie's throat tightened. She glanced at Marcus, who was watching his daughter with such love and protectiveness that it made her chest ache. "I bet your mama would love your drawings," Lottie said gently. "Daddy says she can see them from heaven. He says she sends butterflies to let us know she's watching." The lights dimmed for the second act, but Lottie's attention was divided between the stage and the small family beside her. She watched Marcus help Zoe find the right crayon, watched him point out details in the puppet work, watched him create a safe and loving space for his daughter in the middle of a crowded room. After the show, they walked outside together. The afternoon sun was warm, and families clustered on the sidewalk, children comparing notes about their favorite scenes. "That was amazing," Zoe announced. "Can we come back next week?" "We'll see, baby girl. They probably don't have shows every week." "I could check the schedule," Lottie offered. "They do different programs throughout the month." As they talked, a woman from the audience approached. She was well-dressed, probably in her 50s, and her eyes lit up with recognition when she saw Lottie. "Excuse me, aren't you Charlotte Harrington? My daughter went to school with you at Lakeside." Lottie's stomach tightened, but she smiled politely. "Yes, that's right." "I thought so. How lovely to see you here." The woman's gaze shifted curiously to Marcus and Zoe. "Supporting local arts, I see?" "Just enjoying a Saturday afternoon," Lottie said carefully. The woman lingered for another moment, clearly hoping for more information, before finally moving on. But Lottie noticed her pull out her phone as she walked away. Marcus had noticed too. "Does that happen often?" "More than I'd like." Lottie felt heat rise in her cheeks. "I'm sorry. I should have warned you that people sometimes notice me." "Why are you apologizing?" "Because now you'll probably end up in someone's Instagram story, and that's not what you signed up for when you agreed to fix my TV." Marcus was quiet for a moment, watching Zoe chase a butterfly near a patch of flowers. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Do you live your whole life worried about who's watching?" The question was gentle but direct. It stopped Lottie short because she'd never really thought about it that way. "I guess I do," she admitted. "It's easier than dealing with the alternative." "What's the alternative?" "People making assumptions, creating stories about my life that aren't true, like that blog post this morning." Marcus's eyebrows rose. "What blog post?" Lottie's cheeks burned. She'd assumed he'd seen it. "There's this local gossip site. They posted a photo of you leaving my apartment building. Made it sound like something it wasn't." "Can I see it?" Reluctantly, Lottie pulled up the post on her phone and showed him. Marcus read it carefully, his expression unreadable. "Huh," he said finally. "I'm so sorry. I had no idea my neighbor was taking pictures. I would never want to put you in an uncomfortable position." "Lottie." Marcus's voice was calm. Look at me. She met his eyes. I'm not embarrassed to be seen with you. Are you embarrassed to be seen with me? No, of course not. I love today. I love watching you with Zoe. And I love that she's so smart and funny. And I love that you both make everything feel normal. The words tumbled out before she could stop them. Marcus smiled. The first real smile she'd seen from him since the woman had recognized her. Good. Because normal is what I'm offering. I don't want to be anyone's secret, and I don't want to be anyone's scandal either. But I also don't want to spend time worrying about people who have nothing better to do than take pictures and make up stories. Daddy! Zoe ran back to them, breathless with excitement. The butterfly landed right on my hand. Did you see? I saw, sweetheart. That was special. Maybe it was from Mama, Zoe said seriously, telling us she liked the puppet show too. Marcus lifted his daughter into his arms. Maybe it was. As they walked toward the parking area, Lottie felt something shift inside her chest. For the first time in years, she'd spent an afternoon doing exactly what she wanted to do, with people who felt real and honest and good. The blog post and the nosy woman suddenly seemed much smaller and less important. Would you like to get ice cream? She asked impulsively. There's a place a few blocks away. Ice cream, Zoe cheered. Daddy, can we please? Marcus looked at Lottie carefully. You sure? More people might recognize you. Let them, Lottie said, surprised by her own conviction. I want ice cream with my friends. As they walked toward the ice cream shop, Zoe between them chattering about butterflies and puppet shows, Lottie realized she'd called them friends. It felt right. It felt like the beginning of something real. She didn't notice the woman from earlier following at a distance, her phone already uploading a new set of photos to her social media accounts. Sunday morning brought rain and a voicemail that made Marcus's stomach knot. Mrs. Alvarez's voice was carefully controlled, but he could hear the concern underneath. Marcus, mijo, people in the neighborhood are talking. There are pictures on the internet. Is Zoe okay? Call me back. He sat at his kitchen table, phone in hand, staring at the screenshots Jenna had texted him the night before. The ice cream photos were everywhere now. Him and Lottie and Zoe walking down Pine Street, laughing over shared Sundays, looking for all the world like a happy family. The captions ranged from curious to cruel. Hotel Heiress goes slumming? Read one, particularly nasty blog post. Another speculated about whether Lottie was playing house with the help. His jaw clenched at that last one. Daddy? Zoe appeared in the kitchen doorway, still in her pajamas, hair wild from sleep. Why do you look mad? Marcus quickly closed his phone and pulled her onto his lap. Not mad, baby girl. Just thinking about grown-up stuff. Is it about the lady with the pretty shoes, Lottie? His chest tightened. Zoe had talked about Lottie nonstop since yesterday afternoon, asking when they'd see her again, wondering if Lottie might want to see her other drawings. In Zoe's 8-year-old mind, they'd simply made a new friend who bought them ice cream and listened to stories about butterflies. Sort of, he said carefully. Sometimes when people don't know someone very well, they make up stories about them. Bad stories? Not exactly bad, just not true. And sometimes those stories can hurt people's feelings. Zoe considered this seriously. Like when Tommy at school said I was sad all the time because I don't have a mama? Exactly like that. Remember how we talked about how Tommy was wrong? Yeah, I'm not sad all the time. I miss Mama sometimes, but I'm happy too, especially with you. Marcus kissed the top of her head. That's right, sweetheart. Sometimes people say things without thinking about how it affects other people. His phone buzzed, a text from Lottie. I hope you're both having a good Sunday. I know the photos from yesterday weren't what any of us expected. Would it help to talk? Marcus stared at the message. Part of him wanted to retreat, to protect Zoe from any more unwanted attention. But another part, the part that had watched Lottie kneel down to his daughter's level and genuinely listen to her stories, wanted to give this a real chance. Zoe, what would you think about seeing Lottie again? Really? When? Maybe today. But I need you to understand something first. Some people are very interested in Lottie because her family owns important hotels. When we're with her, other people might take pictures or ask questions. How do you feel about that? Zoe wrinkled her nose. Why do they care about hotels? Because some people think that makes her special. But you and I know that people are special for other reasons, right? Like being kind and listening to stories about butterflies. Exactly. So if we see Lottie again, and people are watching or taking pictures, what should we do? Just keep being ourselves? Marcus smiled despite his worries. Just keep being ourselves. He texted Lottie back. Good morning. Yes, let's talk. Are you free this afternoon? There's a park near my apartment where Zoe likes to play. Her response came quickly. I'll be there. What can I bring? Just yourself. Pine Ridge Park was a small neighborhood spot with older playground equipment and mature trees that provided plenty of shade. Marcus had been bringing Zoe here since she was a toddler, and it felt like safe territory. A place where he could be just another dad pushing his daughter on the swings. Lottie arrived carrying a small bag and wearing jeans that had clearly seen actual wear, not the designer kind that were made to look vintage. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, and she looked nervous. Hi, guys, she said, approaching the bench where Marcus sat while Zoe climbed on the monkey bars. Lottie, Zoe called out. Watch me. I can make it all the way across now. They watched Zoe navigate the bars with determined concentration, her little face scrunched up in effort. She's gotten stronger, Lottie observed. She practices every time we come here, never gives up. Marcus glanced at Lottie. That's something she gets from her mama. Tell me about her, Lottie said softly, if you want to. Marcus was quiet for a moment, watching his daughter. Diana was fierce, in the best way. She was studying to be a teacher when we met, working 2 jobs to put herself through school. She had this way of making everyone around her feel capable of more than they thought they could do. How did she? Car accident. Zoe was 3. A drunk driver ran a red light. His voice remained steady, but Lottie could hear the old pain underneath. Diana died instantly. The hardest part was explaining to Zoe why Mama wasn't coming home. I'm so sorry. Thank you. It's been 5 years, and we're doing okay. Better than okay, most days. But it made me very protective of what Zoe gets exposed to. She's already lost one person who was supposed to stay forever. Lottie understood. You're worried about me. I'm worried about what comes with you. The attention, the speculation. The way people might treat her, or us, because of who your family is. Lottie pulled a folded newspaper clipping from her bag. It was one of yesterday's blog posts, printed out. I've been thinking about this all night, reading the comments, looking at the photos they took without any of us knowing. Marcus took the printout and skimmed it again. The headline read, Charity Case or Real Romance, and the article speculated about whether Lottie was experimenting with a lower-class lifestyle or had found genuine love across social boundaries. They make it sound like we're from different species, he said quietly. I know, and I hate it. But Marcus, Lottie turned to face him fully. I also hate the idea of letting their ignorance keep me from getting to know you and Zoe better. Even if it means more photos? More speculation? I've lived my whole life trying to stay invisible to avoid this exact kind of attention. And you know what? It doesn't work. They write about me anyway. What I wear, who I date, whether I'm at charity events or avoiding them. I'm tired of giving strangers that much power over my choices. Marcus studied her face. What are you saying? I'm saying that yesterday was one of the best days I've had in months. Watching Zoe draw during the puppet show. Listening to you both talk about butterflies and ice cream flavors. Feeling like I was just me, not a hotel heiress or a socialite or whatever they want to call me. Just Lottie, who likes spending time with people who make her laugh. Daddy! Zoe ran over, slightly out of breath. Can we do the swings now? Of course, sweetheart. Marcus stood, then looked back at Lottie. Want to help push? For the next hour, they took turns pushing Zoe on the swings, helped her collect interesting leaves, and sat on the grass while she drew pictures of their afternoon in her ever-present sketchpad. No one took photos. No one stared. They were just three people enjoying a Sunday in the park. As the afternoon light grew longer, Zoe curled up against Marcus's side, sleepy from the fresh air and activity. Daddy, is Lottie going to keep being our friend? She asked drowsily. Marcus and Lottie exchanged glances. Would you like that? Lottie asked gently. Yes, you're fun. And you don't talk to me like I'm little. Well, I'd like to keep being your friend too. But you should know that sometimes when I'm around, other people might pay attention to us. Take pictures. Ask questions. How would you feel about that? Zoe considered this seriously. Would they be mean to us? Not mean exactly. Just curious. Maybe too curious. As long as they don't try to stop us from being friends, Zoe said matter-of-factly. People take pictures of everything now. Mrs. Rodriguez across the hall takes pictures of her breakfast every day and puts them on Facebook. Marcus laughed despite himself. That's different, baby girl. Is it? People like taking pictures. We just have to keep being ourselves, right? That's what you always tell me when kids at school are nosy. Lottie felt something warm and bright bloom in her chest. This little girl had more wisdom than most adults she knew. Zoe's right, she said to Marcus. We just have to keep being ourselves. Marcus was quiet for a long moment, watching his daughter trace patterns in the grass with her finger. Finally, he spoke. Okay, but I need you to understand something. Zoe's happiness and security come first. Always. If this attention gets weird or mean or starts affecting her at school or with her friends, I'm going to step back. Not because I don't want to get to know you, but because she didn't choose any of this. I wouldn't want it any other way, Lottie said firmly. She's lucky to have you. We take care of each other. As they packed up to leave, Zoe handed Lottie a drawing from her sketchpad. It showed 3 stick figures under a tree, with butterflies floating around them. That's us today, she explained. I'm going to put it on my wall. Can I take a picture of it? Lottie asked. I'd love to keep a copy. Really? Really. It's beautiful. As Marcus loaded Zoe into his car, he rolled down the window. What are you doing Tuesday evening? Nothing special. Why? Zoe has a school art show. Parents and families come to see the kids' work displayed in the gym. It's not fancy or anything, just... I'd love to come, Lottie said quickly. If you're sure you want me there? We're sure. 7 o'clock at Maple Elementary. Driving home, Lottie felt lighter than she had in weeks. She'd spent an afternoon being completely herself with people who seemed to genuinely enjoy her company. The internet comments and speculation felt distant and unimportant. Her phone rang as she pulled into her building's garage. Her father's name appeared on the screen. Hi, Dad? Charlotte. Thomas Harrington's voice was measured, controlled. I think we need to have a conversation. Lottie's stomach dropped. About what? About the pictures that have been circulating online. About the speculation regarding your new friend. Dad, it's not what those blogs are making it sound like. I'm not concerned about what it is, sweetheart. I'm concerned about how it looks. The Harrington name carries weight in this city. People watch us. They form opinions that can affect business, relationships, our standing in the community. So what are you saying? I'm saying that perhaps it would be wise to keep your social activities a bit more private for the next few weeks. Let this blow over quietly. Lottie felt the lightness from the afternoon evaporate. You want me to stop seeing them? I want you to be smart about this. Think about the bigger picture. After hanging up, Lottie sat in her car for a long time, staring at Zoe's drawing on her passenger seat. The stick figures looked so happy, so uncomplicated. She thought about the way Zoe had fallen asleep against her father's side, completely trusting and content. She thought about Marcus's careful protectiveness and his gentle way of explaining complicated things to his daughter. Then she thought about her father's words. Think about the bigger picture. But what if this was the bigger picture? What if letting fear and other people's opinions dictate her choices was exactly what had left her feeling so lonely and disconnected from real life? Lottie took out her phone and scrolled through her contacts until she found Marcus's number. She started typing a message, then stopped, deleted it, tried again. Finally, she settled on something simple. Thank you for today. I can't wait for Tuesday. His response came a few minutes later. Zoe's already planning what to show you. Fair warning, she's very proud of her ceramic butterfly. Lottie smiled, feeling that warm brightness return to her chest. Whatever happened next, she wasn't going to let fear make her choices anymore. She was done being invisible. Tuesday evening arrived with unseasonably warm weather, and Lottie's nerves stretched tight as guitar strings. She'd changed clothes 3 times before settling on dark jeans and a simple blue blouse. Nothing too formal for a school art show, nothing that would make her stand out among the other parents. Maple Elementary's parking lot buzzed with families heading toward the brightly lit gymnasium. Lottie spotted Marcus's car and felt her shoulders relax slightly. She was early, but not too early. Just right for someone who definitely wasn't overthinking this. Lottie! Zoe's voice carried across the parking lot as she ran toward her, Marcus following at a more measured pace. Hi, beautiful girl. Lottie knelt to hug her. Are you excited to show me your art? I have 3 pieces, and Mrs. Johnson said mine was one of the most creative in the whole 2nd grade. Marcus approached with that gentle smile that had become familiar over the past few days. She's been talking about this all week. I can't wait to see everything. The gym had been transformed into a gallery space, with colorful artwork displayed on tables and hanging from clotheslines strung between basketball hoops. Parents and grandparents wandered through the displays, children proudly pointing out their creations. Zoe led them straight to a table marked 2nd grade, Section B. Her artwork was displayed alongside her classmates, a watercolor painting of their apartment building, a clay butterfly with carefully painted wings, and a pencil drawing of the puppet show they'd attended. This is beautiful, Zoe, Lottie said, genuinely amazed. The puppet show drawing captured not just the characters on stage, but the audience's faces, including a remarkably accurate depiction of Lottie herself, smiling in profile. That's you, Zoe pointed proudly. I drew it after we got ice cream. Daddy said it was okay to put you in my art. It's perfect. You made me look much prettier than I actually am. No, that's just how you really look when you're happy. The simple honesty of it made Lottie's chest tight with unexpected emotion. When was the last time someone had drawn her just because they wanted to capture a happy moment? Zoe Reed. A woman with short gray hair and kind eyes approached their group. I see you're showing off your masterpieces. Mrs. Johnson, this is my friend Lottie, the one from my puppet show drawing. Mrs. Johnson's eyebrows rose slightly with recognition. but her smile remained warm and professional. How lovely to meet you. Zoe is one of our most talented artists. She has such a wonderful eye for capturing emotion in her work. I can see that, Lottie said sincerely. You must be a wonderful teacher. Oh, Zoe makes it easy. She's got such a positive attitude, and she always looks for the good in people. Mrs. Johnson's gaze shifted meaningfully to Marcus. She gets that from her father. As they continued walking through the displays, other parents began to notice their group. Lottie caught snippets of whispered conversations and felt the familiar weight of being watched. But something had changed since Sunday's park visit. Instead of shrinking away from the attention, she found herself moving closer to Marcus and Zoe, claiming her place in their small circle. Daddy, can we show Lottie the reading corner? Zoe tugged on Marcus's hand. Of course, baby girl. The reading corner was a cozy space filled with beanbags and bookshelves, decorated with student-made murals. Zoe immediately flopped onto a large purple beanbag and patted the one next to it. This is where I come when I need quiet time, she explained as Lottie settled beside her. Sometimes, when kids ask too many questions about my mama, I come here and read until I feel better. What kind of questions do they ask? Lottie asked gently. Like why I don't have a mama to come to school things, or if I'm sad all the time, or if Daddy's going to get married so I can have a new mama. Zoe's voice was matter of fact, but Lottie could hear the weight these conversations carried. How do you answer them? I tell them that families are different, and mine is just me and Daddy, and that's good. Daddy says some people ask questions because they don't understand, not because they want to be mean. Marcus, who had been quietly listening from a nearby chair, caught Lottie's eye. The love and pride in his expression was unmistakable. Your daddy's very smart, Lottie said. He is, and he makes really good pancakes. Do you like pancakes? I love pancakes. Maybe you can come have breakfast with us sometime. Daddy makes them shaped like butterflies on Saturdays. Lottie looked at Marcus, whose cheeks had darkened slightly. Butterfly pancakes sound amazing. We'll see, Zoe, Marcus said gently. Let's not plan Lottie's whole weekend for her. But Lottie shook her head. Actually, butterfly pancakes sound like the perfect way to spend a Saturday morning. As the evening wound down, they walked toward the parking lot together. Zoe skipped ahead, still energized by the excitement of sharing her artwork, while Marcus and Lottie followed at a slower pace. Thank you for coming tonight, Marcus said quietly. It meant a lot to her, to both of us. Thank you for inviting me. I can't remember the last time I felt so included in something real. They reached their cars, parked side by side under a streetlight. Zoe had climbed into Marcus's back seat and was organizing her artwork carefully in a folder. Lottie, Marcus said, his voice dropping lower. Can I ask you something? Anything. Are you prepared for this to get more complicated? Because it will. The more time we spend together, the more attention it's going to attract, and some of that attention might not be kind. Lottie thought about her father's phone call, about the blog comments she'd been trying to ignore, about the whispered conversations she'd noticed tonight. Are you having second thoughts? No, but I need to know that you're not either. Because Zoe's already attached to you. She drew you into her art, Lottie. She's making you part of her story. If you're going to decide this is too much trouble, I need to know now before she gets any more invested. The streetlight cast shadows across Marcus's face, but his eyes were clear and direct. This was him being a father first, protecting his daughter's heart above all else. Marcus, Lottie said carefully. My whole life, I've made choices based on what other people might think or say. I've dated men my father approved of, attended events that were good for the family image, and avoided anything that might cause controversy or speculation. And you know what that's gotten me? A very neat, very empty life. She took a step closer. These past few days, the puppet show, the park, tonight, have been the most real I've felt in years. Zoe makes me laugh. You make me feel like the person I actually am, not the person I'm supposed to be. So no, I'm not having second thoughts. But I need to know that you're not going to let other people's opinions scare you away either. Marcus was quiet for a long moment, studying her face. What about your father, your family, the business? What about them? Come on, Lottie, you know what I'm asking. She did know. He was asking whether she was willing to choose this, whatever this was becoming, over her family's approval and social expectations. Saturday morning, she said firmly. Butterfly pancakes. I'll bring the orange juice. Marcus's smile was slow and warm. Okay. Okay? Okay. He reached out and briefly squeezed her hand. But I'm warning you, Zoe takes her pancake artistry very seriously. She might critique your orange juice selection. I can handle an 8-year-old's beverage standards. We'll see about that. As Lottie drove home, her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. She waited until she was parked in her garage to check it. Miss Harrington, this is Rebecca Chen from Seattle Scene. I'm working on a follow-up piece about your relationship with Marcus Reed. Would you be available for a brief comment? We want to make sure we get the story right. Lottie stared at the message for a long time. 6 months ago, she would have panicked. Called her father? Maybe even called Marcus to warn him that more scrutiny was coming. Instead, she deleted the message without responding. Let them write whatever they wanted. She had butterfly pancakes to look forward to. Friday morning brought rain and a crisis that made Lottie's stomach drop to her feet. She was reviewing quarterly reports in her home office when her phone rang. The caller ID showed her father's assistant. Charlotte, your father needs to see you immediately. Can you come to the office? What's wrong? He'll explain when you get here. How soon can you be downtown? 20 minutes later, Lottie sat across from Thomas Harrington in his corner office overlooking Elliott Bay. Her father's expression was controlled, but stern, and a printed web page lay on his desk between them. We have a problem, he said without preamble, sliding the printout toward her. The headline read, Hotel Heiress playing house with the help? Below it was a photo from Tuesday night's school event. Lottie, Marcus, and Zoe walking together toward the parking lot, looking for all the world like a family. But it was the article text that made Lottie's blood run cold. Someone had clearly done their research. Marcus's full name, his address, details about Diana's death, even information about Zoe's school and Mrs. Alvarez's occasional babysitting. The piece portrayed their relationship as a wealthy woman's experiment in slumming with working-class life. Dad, this is a public relations nightmare. Thomas's voice was controlled but firm. The phone has been ringing all morning. Board members, business partners, the PR firm. Everyone wants to know what the hell is going on. Nothing's going on. I'm getting to know someone. 2 someones. They're good people. Charlotte, I don't care if they're saints. The optics are terrible. A Harrington dating the help? Do you understand how that plays in our circles? He's not the help. He's a small business owner and a single father who fixes televisions for a living. Thomas stood and moved to the window. Charlotte, I've built this company over 30 years. Our reputation isn't just about money, it's about trust, stability, the confidence that we understand our market and our place in the community. This kind of attention undermines all of that. Lottie felt anger rising in her chest. So, you want me to stop seeing them? I want you to think strategically. Take a step back. Let this blow over quietly. Maybe in a few months, when the attention has died down, you can pursue a more Appropriate social circle. Appropriate. The word tasted bitter in Lottie's mouth. You know what I mean. I do know what you mean, and it's exactly the kind of thinking that's made me miserable for the past 10 years. Thomas turned from the window. Charlotte. No, Dad, listen to me. I've spent my entire adult life doing what was appropriate. Dating men who looked good on paper, but made me feel empty. Attending charity events for causes I don't care about. Smiling for photographers and giving quotes about maintaining family traditions. And what has it gotten me? I'm 28 years old, and I don't have a single real friendship. I can't remember the last time I laughed until my stomach hurt. I go to bed every night feeling like I'm living someone else's life. That someone else is a Harrington. It comes with responsibilities. And Marcus makes me feel like myself again. Zoe draws pictures of butterflies and asks genuine questions about the world. They don't care about the Harrington name, or the hotels, or my trust fund. They care about whether I'm kind, and whether I show up when I say I will. Thomas was quiet for a long moment. And when the novelty wears off? When you realize that dating across class lines isn't as romantic in real life as it is in the movies? What happens to that little girl then? The question hit harder than Lottie expected, because it echoed her own deepest fear. I won't hurt her. You might not mean to, but Charlotte, think about what you're asking for. Do you really see yourself at parent-teacher conferences in a public school? At birthday parties and community centers? Dating someone who can't afford the restaurants you're used to, or the vacations you take for granted? Maybe I don't want those things anymore. Maybe what I want is Saturday morning pancakes and art shows in school gymnasiums. You say that now, but will you still feel that way in 6 months? A year? Lottie stood up, her hands shaking slightly. I don't know, Dad. I can't promise you what I'll feel in a year. But I can promise you that if I walk away from them because of articles like this, because of what other people might think, I'll regret it for the rest of my life. She picked up the printout and read through it one more time. The tone was snide and invasive, speculating about Marcus's financial motivations and questioning whether Lottie was using them for some kind of social experiment. This is cruel, she said quietly. They've turned something good into something ugly. That's what the media does, sweetheart. That's why we have to be careful about what we give them to work with. Lottie met her father's eyes. What if I don't want to be careful anymore? What if I want to live my life instead of managing it? Thomas's expression softened slightly. Charlotte, I love you. I want you to be happy. But I also want you to be smart. This man has a child to think about. Are you sure you're not being selfish by pursuing this when you know what kind of attention it brings? The question followed Lottie home and stayed with her through the afternoon. Was she being selfish? Was she putting Zoe at risk for unwanted attention and scrutiny because she was tired of living a careful, controlled life? Her phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. Hope you're having a good day. Zoe wants to know if you prefer your orange juice with pulp or without. This is apparently crucial information for Saturday morning planning. Lottie stared at the message for a long time. In it, she could hear Zoe's serious 8-year-old voice, worried about getting the details right for their guest. She could picture Marcus indulging his daughter's careful planning, maybe rolling his eyes fondly at her perfectionism. Such a simple text, but it represented everything she'd been missing. People who thought about her preferences, who planned ahead because they wanted to make her happy, who included her in the small, everyday moments that made life rich. She was still staring at her phone when it rang. Unknown number. Is this Charlotte Harrington? Who's asking? This is Jake Morrison from Channel 7 News. We're doing a follow-up story on your relationship with Marcus Reed and wondered if you'd like to comment on speculation about... Lottie hung up. The phone rang again immediately. Different number, Different reporter, same invasive questions. She turned off her phone and sat in the silence of her condo, trying to imagine what Marcus and Zoe's afternoon looked like. Were reporters calling them too? Were photographers lurking outside Zoe's school or Marcus's apartment building? For the first time since this all began, Lottie felt the full weight of what her presence in their lives might cost them. Her landline rang. She almost didn't answer, expecting another reporter, but the caller ID showed Jenna's name. "Have you seen the news?" Jenna asked without preamble. "Which news?" "Channel 7 just ran a segment about you and Marcus. They interviewed some woman from your neighborhood who claims she's been watching this relationship develop. Lottie, they made it sound like you're either having some kind of breakdown or playing out some rich girl fantasy." Lottie closed her eyes. "What did they say about Marcus and Zoe?" "Not much, thank God. But they did show footage of his apartment building and mentioned Zoe's school by name. As your friend, I have to ask, are you sure you know what you're doing?" "Honestly? No. I have no idea what I'm doing." "But you're not stopping." "I can't. Jenna, I know how this looks from the outside. I know it seems crazy and impulsive and potentially stupid. But when I'm with them, everything feels right. More right than anything has felt in years. And when you're not with them, when you're dealing with your dad and reporters and people making assumptions about your life, then I remember why I avoided real relationships for so long," Lottie admitted. "But I don't want to be that person anymore. I don't want to live my life based on fear of what strangers might think." "Okay, but what about what Marcus thinks? Have you talked to him about all this attention?" Lottie realized she hadn't heard from Marcus since the morning text about orange juice. No response to her reply, no evening check-in, no casual conversation about their days. "I need to call him," she said. "Good luck." Lottie tried Marcus's number 3 times, but it went straight to voicemail. She tried texting. "Hey, are you okay? I saw the news coverage and wanted to make sure you and Zoe are doing all right." No response. She tried again an hour later. "I understand if you need space to think about things. Just let me know you're both safe." Still nothing. By 9 o'clock, Lottie was pacing her condo, alternating between worry and a growing sense of dread. Had the media attention scared Marcus away? Had he decided that whatever was developing between them wasn't worth exposing Zoe to this kind of scrutiny? Finally, at 9:47, her phone buzzed. "We're fine. Zoe's asleep. Can we talk tomorrow? There are some things we need to discuss." Lottie's heart sank. The formal tone, the careful distance. This was not the man who had texted her about orange juice preferences that morning. She typed back, "Of course. When and where?" "I'll come to you, 10 a.m. "Marcus, I'm sorry about—" But the 3 dots that showed he was typing disappeared, and no response came. Lottie spent the night staring at her ceiling, trying to prepare for a conversation she was terrified to have. By morning, she'd convinced herself that Marcus was coming to tell her that whatever had been growing between them was over before it had really begun. She wasn't sure she'd blame him. At exactly 10 o'clock, her doorbell rang. Marcus stood in her hallway looking tired and serious, and her heart broke a little at the careful distance in his expression. "Hi," she said quietly. "Hi." She stepped aside to let him in, and they sat in her living room, the same room where they'd first met over a broken television. It felt like a lifetime ago. "How's Zoe?" Lottie asked. "Confused. She doesn't understand why people are so interested in taking pictures of us, or why her school called to ask about security procedures." Marcus's jaw was tight. "I had to explain to an 8-year-old why reporters might want to ask her questions about her new friend." Lottie's chest ached. "I'm so sorry." "I know you are, but sorry doesn't change the fact that this is happening." Marcus leaned forward, his hands clasped between his knees. Lottie, I need to know something, and I need you to be completely honest with me. Okay. Is this real for you? What's happening between us? Is it real, or is it some kind of experiment? A break from your regular life that you'll get tired of when the novelty wears off? The question was so similar to what her father had asked that Lottie felt like she'd been punched. Is that what you think? That you're some kind of experiment? I think you're a woman who's lived a very different life than mine. I think you're used to having choices and options that most people don't get. And I think when this gets hard, really hard, you're going to have an easy exit that Zoe and I don't have. Marcus, let me finish. His voice was gentle but firm. Yesterday, 3 different reporters called my work. They showed up at Zoe's school. Mrs. Alvarez had to take a different route home because there was a photographer outside our building. This is what your life looks like, Lottie. This is what happens when Charlotte Harrington decides to date someone. Lottie felt tears building behind her eyes. So what are you saying? I'm saying that I need to know this is worth it to you. Because if it's not, if you're going to decide in a few weeks or months that this is too complicated or too messy, then I need to end it now, before Zoe gets any more attached. And what about you? Are you attached? Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Yes, more than I expected to be. More than is probably smart. Then why does it sound like you're breaking up with me? Because I'm scared. The admission seemed to surprise him. I'm scared that you're going to realize what your father and your friends and everyone else already knows, that this doesn't make sense, that you deserve someone who can take you to the places you're used to, someone who fits into your world without causing this kind of chaos. Lottie stood up and moved to the window, staring out at the city below. What if I don't want that world anymore? What if you do? What if you wake up 6 months from now and realize you missed the galas and the fancy restaurants and the life you had before? What happens to Zoe then? I don't know, Lottie said honestly, turning back to face him. I can't promise you what I'll want in 6 months, but I can promise you what I want right now. I want Saturday morning pancakes and art shows and the way Zoe draws butterflies in her sketch pad. I want the way you make me laugh and the way you both make me feel like myself instead of some version of myself I think I'm supposed to be. Even if it means more reporters, more speculation, more photographers following us around. Even then, Lottie sat back down, closer to him this time. Marcus, I've spent my whole life being careful, being appropriate, making choices based on what other people would think. And it's made me lonely and empty and afraid of everything real. She reached for his hand. Maybe this doesn't make sense on paper. Maybe it's crazy and complicated and potentially doomed. But it's the first thing that's felt genuinely right in years, and I don't want to give it up because some strangers have opinions about my personal life. Marcus studied their joined hands. What about your father? Your family? What about them? Lottie, come on, you know what I'm asking. I know, and I can't promise you that it won't be complicated. My father wants me to end this before it goes any further. He thinks I'm being irresponsible and naive. She squeezed Marcus's hand. But I'm 28 years old, and I'm tired of living my life according to someone else's rules. Even if those rules protect you from this kind of attention? Especially then. Those rules have protected me right into a life I don't actually want. Marcus was quiet for a long time, his thumb tracing patterns across her knuckles. What about Zoe? What if this attention gets worse? What if it affects her at school or with her friends? Then we figure it out together. We protect her however we can, and we make decisions based on what's best for her, not what's easiest for everyone else. You make it sound simple, It is simple. Not easy, but simple. Either we think this is worth fighting for, or we don't. Marcus looked up at her, and she could see the conflict in his expression. I want it to be worth fighting for. So do I. But I won't sacrifice Zoe's peace for my happiness. Not for anyone. I wouldn't want you to. She comes first. Always. I understand that. They sat in silence for a moment, both considering the weight of what they were discussing. So what now? Marcus asked finally. Now we take it one day at a time. We see how tomorrow goes, and the day after that. And if it gets to be too much, if the attention becomes harmful or overwhelming, we reassess. And Saturday morning pancakes? Lottie smiled for the first time since he'd arrived. Saturday morning pancakes, with pulp-free orange juice, apparently. She's very particular about her beverages. I can handle particular. Marcus stood to leave, but paused at the door. Lottie, for what it's worth, this is the most real thing I've felt since Diana died. You and Zoe together, it feels like the family I thought I'd never have again. After he left, Lottie sat in her living room for a long time, thinking about families and choices and the difference between what was safe and what was right. Her phone buzzed with a text from her father. Charlotte, we need to finalize our conversation from yesterday. Call me when you're ready to be reasonable. Lottie stared at the message, then deleted it without responding. She had pancakes to prepare for. 3 hours later, Lottie stood in the grocery store juice aisle, comparing orange juice options with the seriousness of someone selecting a fine wine. Pulp-free, she reminded herself. This was apparently crucial information for an 8-year-old's Saturday morning standards. Her phone rang as she reached for a carton of Simply Orange. Jenna's name appeared on the screen. Please tell me you didn't break up with him, Jenna said without preamble. We didn't break up. Thank God, because I spent all night thinking about what you said yesterday, and I realized something. What's that? I've never heard you sound as happy as you did when you were talking about that little girl and her drawings. Not in all the years I've known you. Lottie felt her throat tighten. Jenna? No, listen. I've watched you date guys who looked perfect on paper and made you miserable. I've watched you go through the motions of a life that seemed right from the outside, but left you feeling empty. And then you meet a man and his daughter, and suddenly you're lighting up like Christmas morning when you talk about butterfly pancakes. It's not that simple. Isn't it, Lottie? Love isn't supposed to make sense on a spreadsheet. It's supposed to make you feel alive. After hanging up, Lottie continued her shopping with a lighter heart. She picked out fresh strawberries, real maple syrup, and coffee that smelled like Saturday mornings and new beginnings. As she loaded groceries into her car, her phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. Zoe wants to know if you like your pancakes in butterfly shape or flower shape. This is apparently the next crucial decision in the breakfast planning process. Lottie laughed out loud in the grocery store parking lot, earning curious looks from other shoppers. Butterfly shape, definitely. Tell her I'm very impressed by her attention to detail. She says butterflies are more advanced than flowers anyway, so you made the right choice. I'm learning that Zoe has very high standards for everything. You have no idea. Wait until you see her set up for the perfect pancake eating experience. There are rules. As Lottie drove home, she realized she was humming, something she hadn't done in months. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new speculation, probably more unwanted attention. But it would also bring butterfly pancakes and an 8-year-old's laughter and the chance to wake up next to the possibility of something real. For the first time in years, that felt like enough.